I'm back. So let's do some more of this off-the-day stuff. What the hell?
He's completely blind to the complexity of the fairness arguments.
Alright, blind to the complexity of the fairness argument. So these arguments don't really have anything to do with the Benatar argument. So it's a separate subject, and it basically has to do with the idea that I contend that there's two elements to good gameplay. That would be consent and fairness. And I would also contend that the basic nature of fairness, 99% of fairness, is going to be obvious stuff, like not cheating, no head starts, just basic stuff. So yeah, I don't think there's that complicated about fairness or consent. Consent is part of fairness, I suppose, but you really can't separate. You have to have both those elements to have a good game.
He cites meritocracy, I think. He seems to be at times very meritocratus, if that's a word.
Yeah, whatever. No, I always talk about efficiency. And yeah, there's standards by which you judge the efficiency of the performance of the activity, whatever it is, the action. All things can be judged. You can judge your toaster, you can judge your microwave oven, you can judge your car, you can judge human beings.
And yet fails to understand or seems to be oblivious to the criticisms that meritocracy can face. For example, on whose say what attributes are to be rewarded as in a meritocratus society.
I don't know what that even means, but obviously it depends on what your definitions of productive are. So it depends on the activity and what you define as the outcome you seek. I'm saying the basic outcome isn't so much about the bullshit that people live for, it's the efficiency of the function. Basically what makes you happy isn't as important as your happiness, your comfort. So if you can make somebody comfortable with a 10-cent pillow, and you can make them comfortable by 0.00001% by buying a $100 pillow, there'd be no logic in that equation. So that would sort of define merit. The merit is in the efficiency. So the more efficient you are in your existence, the less harm you do, and the more harm you prevent. That means you are more effective in your performance on planet Earth.
3,000-4,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, whatever, if we was in a hunter society, what is meritocratus to them is completely different to what is meritocratus.
And again, why should that be my standards? I'm not a leech. I can compare humans to leeches. I can compare humans to praying mantises. I can compare humans to great white sharks. Why would I have any expectation that humans can't perform better than that? Educated humans. So yeah, we're not 100,000 years ago, we're not 10,000 years ago, we're now. We know a lot more than we knew in the past. We certainly know more about our biology and our psychology and the mechanisms of our motivation. We certainly can understand the idea, that there isn't, that white people don't have special consciousnesses. Yeah. You can see our bigotries.
No. We prize intelligence, then more so the physical attributes, I would say.
Yeah, whatever. I don't see exactly that either. I see we are quite obviously, most of the wealth is held by people who have done nothing intelligent or anything physically meritorious beyond falling out of a vagina. So explain how we have made some preferential statement regarding intelligence. Yeah, I don't see the evidence of that.
And there is no necessary objective truth to these meritocratus positions. So he has a weak position here.
Yeah, all right, so somebody can figure that out, right? So I'm talking about your interactions with other sentient beings in terms of how much terror, harm, fear, pain, suffering you impose on them, and he's talking about gibberish. And somehow I have to respond to his gibberish. I mean, what exactly did he make a counter argument? How did he say something that's supposed to mean something to my value equation? How did he in some way to explain how humans and other sentient mammals don't intrinsically have value, and the meaning of your life, the value of your life, is dependent on how you affect those other sentient beings? How did he prove that's not true? How did he logically demonstrate it's not true? Oh, that's right, he didn't do any such thing.
Which he blithely stampedes and ridicules anybody who should endeavour to probe those depths of his reasoning.
Again, with what? Probe with what? The idea that preventing harm has no value. Fuck you, it's idiotic.
He goes on, we have to make it cleaner or we don't play. Interestingly, Inmendham is kind of hypocrite.
Yeah, I use the cesspool metaphor, okay, that the game we're playing is too sloppy, too much waste. The car is too fuel inefficient. There's too much crap coming out of it, too little performance for the cost of it in terms of the suffering imposed. Too many slaves for too little pinky tea. Not a complex argument.
A bit of a hypocrite here, because his language is suggestive of the fact that maybe there's a way to win, and yet much of his dialogue is interesting.
Yeah. So this is just a lie. Clearly, I've said, look, we're heading for a brick wall. The fact of the matter is how hard you hit the brick wall. Let's use the brick wall. It could be a cliff you're going over. It doesn't matter. We're heading for calamity of some kind. The argument is, okay, ultimately, let's not do it. Let's not hit the brick wall. That's the easiest, the most obvious solution to the problem. Don't hit the brick wall. Plan B is, try not to hit the brick wall as hard, okay? Try to turn the car, try to glancing blow, try to minimize how much frickin' damage you do. So that's no hypocrisy in acknowledging that ideally, if I'm heading for a car accident, I want to avoid hitting the other car. If I can't avoid hitting the other car, I want to try to do as little damage as possible. What is complicated about that? It's like saying, I'd rather we don't build a nuclear power plant in my backyard. But if you have to build one, don't build one that melts down. Is that logic inconsistent? No.
In the position that he is, that this is undeniable logic, that there is no way to win. Yet he entertains the idea that, we have to make it cleaner, and he says, or don't play. And this entertains the idea that we can make it cleaner.
So this is his idea of a fair paraphrase. I've said I believe you can't. You won't win. It will fail. That's what I believe. If I can't convince people of that belief, the least I can do is prevent them from making it worse. Okay? Doing it even more badly. So I can minimize the losses. So if I have to concede that they're going to create losses, they're going to create harm, the least I can do is prevent how much harm. I can mitigate against the amount of harm. And you can't see the logic in that. Well, I'm sorry, you're not fair, and your paraphrase is obnoxiously inaccurate.
And this is, I guess, the more optimistic point of view, which Inmendham never really addresses when he meets it in an interlocutor, just except in blunt dismissal.
No, I mean, I clearly parse the conversation. I say when I'm going to have a conversation about the futility and impossibility, that's the subject. Now, if you want to talk about what happens if Plan A is impossible or can't take place, then we can talk about Plan B. But they're two separate conversations, and when you blend them together, you're just going to create confusion. I think that's a fairly rational approach to take. That the politics of whether you should build nuclear power plants is one kind of politics. The politics of how you manage the ones that already exist is another kind of politics.
He says indication is that it can never be good enough. This is again further evidence of what I'm charging him. That he's suggesting that perhaps we can be better. In fact, he is.
No, perhaps we can be better. That somehow is not consistent with the statement, okay, that you won't succeed in the end, though. So doing a better job doing better than a worse job, and I'm just saying that doesn't matter what job you do, it's not going to work because the grasshoppers are going to eat everything you plant. So I'm just saying that in the end you're going to lose. You can lose gracefully or you can lose ungracefully.
Saying he has transcended, he and a few others have transcended and are able to see an escape in a sense this game
Whatever, I don't even know what this has to do with the subject. I just don't. So the fact that you would mitigate losses and you can't make that coherent to the ultimate perception that doing it is wrong. So if the wrong politician gets elected, like say you're a Democrat and there's a primary, and your guy doesn't win the primary, that means you would be a hypocrite if you don't vote for the guy in the other party. Well, of course you're going to support the number 2 guy. Okay, you'll deal with what you're stuck with. But, this doesn't make any, well, whatever. This is just such a waste of my time. Waste of yours, too, I'm sorry.
At least in acknowledging it. And in one sense, I mean, again, speaking to the simplistic mindset of Inmendham, he talks about what needs to be done is the pointing of fingers and saying you're an asshole. Okay.
Alright, so he calls it simplistic, the idea that, like say with global warming, the human race is basically ignoring the problem because everybody's a selfish asshole, and especially in the West where we're using 70% of the energy, there's this huge hypocrisy where we're, shaking our finger at people who are just trying to get the bare minimums of electricity and sanitation. And we're saying you're not allowed to have those things because we've used up our energy quota. And there's just an obnoxious assholery about this whole idiocy. So yeah, that's the only way you're going to fix any of these problems is acknowledging the problem isn't out in the world, that the problem is the human animal. That's what I said in the fucking video. And I don't think you're going to counter-argue that with anything.
This is the fix. This is in Mendham's words what is needed. Okay, I think what's needed is a great many things. An all evolution of mankind
an evolution of mankind. I mean, this is just idiotic. First off, we're not evolving physically by natural or special selection. So that's out of the window. The only thing that's evolving is our knowledge base, our understanding. And clearly I'm arguing for the evolution of our knowledge base to the extent where we now actually take responsibility for the truth, which is we're just on a bug planet. And that's the gameplay. And if we're going to do better than that, we're going to have to step beyond our nature, not live up to our nature.
Continuing on its present trajectory. Just an aside, interestingly, Inmendham places himself on about talking about whether we're improving. Inmendham places himself in an unfalsifiable position, because if I say longevity is an indication of our improvement, then
so why don't you just say nuclear bombs are an indication of our improvement? So, he's the one playing the game. He's saying that somehow all advances are immune from critique. We are to expect that all advances in technology are intrinsically and fundamentally good, and they cannot be at all detrimental to our long-term longevity or survivability. I would argue there are some technologies that once they get out the barn door and in the hands of personally motivated, selfishly motivated, and maliciously motivated human beings, they will lead to your annihilation. You won't survive the technology. Warfare has to become obsolete. It's a logical truth. If warfare doesn't become obsolete, the weapons of warfare will be so destructive we will not survive them. This, I think, is theoretical, has been demonstrated to be rational theory. And I'm arguing that fundamentally we're already at that cusp of a reality that has to be faced. And the fact that the human race is obviously not prepared to even do that yet is demonstration it has no capacity to modify its perspective, to face the challenges of the future. You claim the challenges don't exist, that the technology is nothing but a blessing. I've pointed out that many of these technologies have a curse tied to them. The curse of extensive medical care is that you prolong the worst parts of life, not the best parts of life. Just a truth.
Inmendham would say, oh, bloody hell, yeah, 10 years extra in the nursing home. Yet, somehow one feels if life was getting shorter and more brutish,
Shorter and more brutish. Well, see, that's the argument, right? Let's say the life was shorter, then no, it wouldn't be more brutish. It would be more healthy. If you died at 35 by genetic code alone, the genetics just killed you at 35. If the average lifespan was 35, I think it could be reasonably argued that the human organism would spend more time in a healthy state and therefore have a higher quality of life index overall, because most of the humans in existence would be existing in a healthier state. It's, again, I'm sorry you don't like the facts, but the facts are that it is this individualism, this obsession with your individualism, that makes you blind to the practical fact, okay, that all the individuals, although they're all unique snowflakes, there's a ton of fucking snow. Snow is not rare, and therefore there is no value to your uniqueness. And that is a practical matter. You're much better having white snow than yellow snow. Old, dirty, smelly, pissed-on snow. You probably can't even get that analogy. Anyway.
Because that's the only real reason that it would get shorter that I can imagine, then that would also be evidence for Inmendham's position. So he's cleverly and unbeknownst to him, I imagine, and advocates of his position, that they're adopting an unfalsifiable position. That is, they can't.
Unfalsifiable how? All you have to do is explain how it's much better to spend 10 years in a nursing home than to lose out on those extra 20 years as a, graying, olding farter. Yeah, somehow that's worth the 10 years. And, I'm just saying that I don't think it is. You can believe differently if you like, but I don't think it is.
Just like they can't give the conditions of how we measure inefficiency, they can't give the conditions that they would accept, that would evidence mankind's progress. And it
can't give the conditions that would evidence mankind's progress. Again, they can't even do this in sci-fi films. You can't make without huge plot flaws, there's no diagram of your utopia. The agenda engine is crude. You keep pretending it's not, but it is. It's a crude agenda engine, and you're not going to be able to overwhelm that with all your, magical, wishful thinking.
Anything that's evidence for progress is seen through a light of evidence of.
Well, whatever, that's just a lie. I didn't say there was anything wrong with video cameras. I didn't think there's anything wrong with the internet. I don't think there's wrong with a ton of technology. I was just arguing that you're the one saying our lives are so much better. I'm arguing that obviously for many human beings on this planet they're not so swell. 1 million of them commit suicide, and there's a ton of them that can't get through their life without being drunk or on Prozac. And these are truths. The dysfunctionality is all over the place. You statistically can go read about divorce rates and alcoholism and all that stuff. So you say that human beings are living charmed lives. I'm saying the life isn't so charmed. And then when you look at the raw numbers, people are, like I say, the conditions that the human animal are living in, the average conditions, might be worse than they were under slavery. So I don't see how you can call that great and progress. Wage slavery as a replacement for disposability, as a replacement for slavery, isn't my definition of progress. Hit the button.
Degeneration.
For a day, it's made some sort of response video, so I figured this ought to be worth a laugh. But I can't play and respond because it'll probably... No, that's me again. Anyway, it's Independence Day. He's about to blow up this spaceship by... well, whatever. Yeah. So it really is stupid, because, they took the shields down, and all they have to do with the shields down is nuke the thing, and all of a sudden now they don't have any nuclear bombs. I mean, why didn't they have nuclear missiles on the airplanes? I mean, it's just kind of silly. Yeah, completely preposterous. Nonsense and such. Here it comes. I'm back. So he takes his mask off, and then he puts his mask back on. And then, watch there. There it is again. Oh, maybe that was the president that had the mask on. I don't know. I have to go back and check that. But anyway. Good luck, buddy. Yeah, maybe the president just saying, good luck, buddy. Yeah. Anyway, till next time. I hope this video doesn't get taken down for that. It's bad enough quality. It's okay. Oh, shit. That was a really short clip. Sorry. I didn't realize it was just a little part where I say it's going to take him, 10 to 30 minutes to get the 3 minutes of content. So now we're going to have an argument over style. Fine. Yeah, Hoffley, your videos are often content poor and boring as fuck.
Your style to people who criticise the length and rambly fashion of your video, and yet...
yeah, and I'll complain about that. That's right. Especially people who don't make videos. Yeah, I'll certainly complain.
You expect me to somehow be more succinct The second objection is...
Yeah, no, I expect you to make a fucking argument. There's nothing in your goddamn videos. Do you say anything in this video? Do you make a counter-argument of any kind? Do you do anything but spend, whatever it is, 42 minutes just ad hominem attacking, just making generalization bullshit statements about his argument is too simple and it smells like poopy and I don't like it and blah 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 blah. No, you don't. It's bullshit.
The criticism is that there are details and facets to my arguments and reasoning that you're just blithely brushing over and dismissing.
Yeah, I'm dismissing an argument that has no premises. That's right. You cannot make logical propositions without premises. You provide no premises. What do you value? I value pink balloons because my friends all like pink balloons. Yes, that's going to be useless. Okay? The argument that value is defined by popularity is absolutely useless as an argument. I don't care that most people think the Olympics is a good expenditure. That doesn't mean it is. It means most people are assholes. Man, you're stupid.
You seem unable, in actual fact, to recognise the features of arguments and the features of the statements that I'm bringing forth. That
you're not bringing forth any statements, again, counter-arguing my premises. The only thing I'm interested in is your proof that any one of my premises is fundamentally flawed. You've provided no such proof. I don't need to hear any crap about whether you like sushi, you don't like sushi. You like roast beef sandwiches, you don't like. I don't care. It's totally irrelevant to the argument. The only argument I want to hear about is how sentience isn't the source of all value in the universe and that you have some counter theory that means something. And you don't have it. You're telling me humans have notions in their head. I'm saying Venetians could have notions in their head. Does that mean they mean something? A notion of value in their head means something? No, unless they're feeling something, unless they're being harmed in some way, they don't have an argument, fuckhead.
Undermine your position. The fact that you need this level of spelling it out to you is...
Oh, well, I'm sorry. You're the one who needs it spelled out. You need the questions directly stated to you over and over again. How do you make a distinction between humans and Venetians?
Detriment to yourself, not to me. I'm working unscripted.
Oh, it's only
you work unscripted. It's fine. Okay. And as you've recently been criticised,
he's playing my video while he's talking, which isn't too bright. So I'll see if I can understand what he's saying.
The nature of your interjectory videos. Believes himself to be. It kind of and this illogical. I make this. This is a rare kind of response for me. This is Inmendham's. But you have to realise it kind of precludes the chance that you have really of coming back and into illustration of the. And that's kind of why I'm doing it.
He's saying it precludes my ability to interject. Well, it doesn't. I don't see any point in not arguing every accusation somebody makes. So. Again, you make accusation after accusation. The accusations are 1 or 2 sentences long. That's it. Why shouldn't I deal with those accusations if they're wrong? If there's a stream of prefaces to an argument that somebody makes where he says, "Well, you're 8 feet tall and you have size 14 Bruno Mollies and you're." Went out with OJ's wife, and and they have a whole string of these things. Why should I wait till they do the whole string? Why don't I just defeat each one as they come? So whatever. I'm just saying that this argument over style is another argument I have no interest in. You want to argue about it? Fine. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to keep doing what I've been doing.
No, because your style precludes me doing this because this video turns into like 10 hours long. If I want
to, the argument.
return the
You have a
favour in
counter
kind, so
argument
to
to that?
speak.
That harm
You know,
and
I've
not
just made, I mean,
having fun are
that
not
point,
the same thing. Can you understand that?
This is
He just made the point. Well, 10 hour long videos. Yeah, that's right. This technique can go very long if you're going to keep arguing back and forth. But again, there's often I change the style, I take notes, and then I argue from the notes. So again, you can keep making these complaints. I'm just saying I don't think you have evidence of your complaints. I don't think you have any evidence to back up your argument, your criticisms, or your accusations. I think they're just completely bullshit. Depending on the video, I will choose a style that I think is appropriate. But I don't do every video the same way. So fuck you.
why,
Being
you know, the undead god
and
guy
not having
is correct. You
some
need to go away and
shining
think
city
about
on
it
the
and
hill
try and articulate
is
back
not
to me what the
the
message you've
same
taken. And shut
Well, fuck you. Yeah, fuck you. I don't need to go back and think about it, shithead. You're the one with no argument. So fuck you. You're just a fucking lame, weak, hatchet jobbing, you know. I mean, I can't even insult you properly because you do it so badly. I mean, I'd like to say, you know, yeah, you don't even do a hatchet job. You piss on things. That's all you are. You're just some sort of malicious pisser.
told me that you've understood what I'm saying. It's not very hard for me to tell you that I understand what you're saying. Because
Well, you obviously don't understand shit, okay? It took 5 videos to get to the point where you could understand the Benatar argument. That, oh, you're comparing life with death? Oh, I mean, being alive with not being alive? Yeah, existing with not existing? You couldn't even get that part right.
as you put it, it's consumption, reproduction, death, destruction, game, maze play, inefficiency.
That's not
it's all
having
these
fun.
things
Is not
that are
a bad
unqualified.
thing
Yeah?
if you don't need to have
My method
fun.
of proceeding, and everybody who criticizes
His method of, I don't know, you mentioned the consumption, reproduction, cannibalism, addiction thing. We didn't even do that right. But anyway, sometimes somehow all these things collide, and then he just left that there. He didn't make a counter argument. Well, whatever. I don't know.
science, yeah, is
Harm,
trying to get you to put
Having
meat
a
on
very
these
bad
bones.
time
Yeah.
is bad.
They are
That is
bones
where
you're throwing
bad
out. You call them arguments, but they're not arguments. They're just endless, metaphorical.
They're just endless See, this is, you know, just a constant litany of these useless, trash representations, accusations. Yeah. So what's the point of this? I mean, these are they're not worthy of any kind of reaction or response. You know, I'll just argue that, yes, you're vacuous and irrational.
Emotionally laden rhetoric.
Emotionally latent. But yes, people, I think, should be emotional about harm imposed on sentient creatures. That's right. And if something is proposing that more harm be imposed, that more things be brutalized and tortured, that yes, people should have at least a little bit of capacity to say, gee, I have some dissidence over that. I have some emotional and cognitive dissonance. Yeah. I don't think that's asking too much.
This is the example of the human organism that just can't. See how long it is.
Okay, so now we're back to playing it normally. So I'll be back.
Do you not see the hypocrisy that you've just demonstrated? You've conceded that I've made a brief 9-minute video, and you then talk and make a video of 20 minutes in extension. That's it.
Yeah, well, my videos are content rich. Your videos are content poor. That you fundamentally different kinds of videos. That's right. I hate your videos. I can't stand listening to you. It's tedious, and there's no information in the videos. There's no fucking argument. It's just this stupid litany of you pompously and arrogantly saying, I don't like it.
If you play my whole video, it's unbeknown at this moment. Just flagrant hypocrisy you're guilty of. In answer to Inmendham.
Again, it's not hypocrisy for me to point out that I like my videos and I hate your videos. How is that hypocrisy? I'm articulate, to the point, and somewhat entertaining. You, on the other hand, are dry, obnoxious, smelly, stinking, boring, and repugnant to my senses. Yeah, okay. Where's the hypocrisy in that? I'm not allowed to not like you or your style? That's being hypocritical. Oh, I get it. So you're obviously an idiot who doesn't understand what words mean. Basic conceptual philosophical words like hypocrisy. Oh, we're back to me.
Inmendham believes himself to be illogical when he constructs this table.
So he's playing him talking
this is Inmendham's,
in my video. Okay, now I get it.
So
I'll be
concrete.
So yeah, it's a lot shorter clips this time. Anyway, so I just got done saying the simple argument that it's the Venetians aren't being missed. There's no evidence of them being harmed by not existing, and there was some other element to that argument. I just forgot it. Oh yeah, the distinction that there's not having dessert is different than going to prison, or having my arm cut off. Okay, not having some bonus or extra is not the same as harm.
But to let Inmendham have his complete say and form his complete thoughts.
Okay, so that wasn't a complete thought, where you described complete thoughts. So me saying, okay, so there's the concept. He is arguing that by interjecting, I'm not interjecting after a complete thought, that somehow I should wait. I should allow you to do 10 wrong premises to an argument, and then go back to each premise. What would be the point of doing that? Why don't I just stop at each premise and say that premise is bullshit? So I'm obviously arguing that, yes, there's many complete sentences in your argument. They preface your argument, they support your argument, and if I can knock one of them down before I get to your conclusion, I might as well get to that. Why would I wait? No point in waiting.
Well, see, I'm making the notes in the screen that of his specific language and points that I need to deal with.
See if he deals with it.
This is to make the best possible out of this style of video.
Whatever. Waste of time, right? Waste of time, yes.
It's perhaps rather better with the Inmendham as well, because he actually doesn't make very many arguments at all, despite what he says. He says here, the argument is, these are almost his exact words, is the fact that the Venetians are not being harmed by not existing. That's a statement. It's not an argument.
Okay, that's a statement. It's not an argument. Now, I don't know why you would think arguments would not be in the form of statements, but they are. That's what arguments are. They're statements. So it's just idiotic to say that statements aren't arguments. They are. Statements describing a fact are arguments. They're called evidence. They're called supporting arguments. That's just silly. I think it's interesting to note, yes, that not existing is not harm. That's the point being made. So I'm noting that the Venetians, wherever they would be, not existing does not mean they're being harmed.
About that statement, I think I could agree that it is true, but as to the relevance and the conclusions that might be drawn from it.
Okay, as to the relevance of the conclusions that might be drawn from it. So at least he's understanding there might be it's not even conclusions, but the parallel associations, the connections that might be made between that and some other fact. Let's see if he puts that together.
These are entirely questionable. This is, if you like, the question at issue. And the fact that through all this debate with many, many interlocutors, you fail to realise that we are scrutinising this question at issue that underpins that statement. Repeat.
Underpins. So he's saying that there's something that goes deeper than that truth. The truth that you can't harm people who don't exist. He's saying there's something deeper than that. I would argue you're not going anywhere deeper than that. That's as deep as it goes.
Repeatedly saying it through 3,000 videos is not.
So again, just keep complaining that there's 3,000 videos. 3,000 videos. That's right. I'm not going to keep making the argument, but I mean there are 3,000 videos to a world that believes in angels. So yeah, it takes 3,000 videos. Maybe it'll take 3 million videos. Maybe that's how impossible the task is to talk about any kind of rational perspective to people who wish not to be rational. Yeah, maybe that's what it would take. That doesn't mean anything. You can keep complaining about how many videos there are, but you're not even answering anything in the video, so it doesn't matter anyway. You're not on the subject 93.7% of the time.
Presenting an argument. It's as controversial philosopher, Coates said, I don't make an argument, but an argument is to give reasons to believe something. And this is what you're lacking.
Again, I'm not lacking it. You, again, have evaded the subject. Okay, the subject is the Venetians aren't missed. They're not suffering. They're not being harmed by non-existing. The clear argument being made that is if Earthlings became Venetian in their lifestyle, okay, if they became fully Venetian, what would be the harm? Oh, that's right, no harm. That's right, there's no harm. Yeah. We haven't reacted or responded to that simple. I didn't bring up the Venetians for no reason. They quite obviously are brought up to compare to the Earthlings. Compare Earthlings with Venetians. Earthlings harm, Venetians no harm.
Scrutinizing the assumptions, the so-called premises, and this is where you're guilty of pseudoscience.
So another accusation, I mean, there should just be a little bell that goes off every time he makes an unfounded, unsubstantiated, unargued, unevidenced argument, right? Just over and over and over and over. It's just a bunch of fucking accusations.
So far as that you call things premises as though that you are laying them in foundation to an argument.
Well, I couldn't do it any more aggressively. I fucking labeled them. The cornerstone, foundation, I mean, I couldn't try any harder to make it known that this is the foundation. If you don't accept this, there's no point in talking about what's on top of it.
You're showing the entailment, but for it to be an argument, you have to hint at least and describe some kind of entailment, such that you're moving from, as I said, general statements to more specific statements and more specific conclusions.
Whatever, yeah, well, I've done all that. With every single analogy or metaphor I've used, I've explained the connections to the similarities, the direct lines of strings of attachment and association. And I'm making the association between the fact that you can't harm things that don't exist. And that's a pretty important fact.
And this you fail to do. This you are oblivious to. This you are blind to. I hope this interjectory style can bring forth it to your conscious level, that which perhaps we...
So his argument is that somehow you don't defend an argument against nuclear power plants by pointing out how, look, we don't need the electricity. It's all just a notion in your head, this idea of human beings being here being necessary. Because if they're not here, there won't be anybody suffering, there won't be anybody in prison, there won't be any horror. So it's absolutely just a projection in your head that there's some sort of negative connection to non-existence. There is no negative connection. And so I'm making the argument, okay, you don't need the electricity. There's this risk of horrible harm that's imposed arbitrarily and erroneously. Like there's no deserve, has nothing to do with it. So there's no fairness or deserve in the irradiation from the meltdown that will be caused. So there's absolutely no good potential here. It's all negative potential. And so I'm arguing that you don't build a nuclear power plant. Okay, is that too complicated for you? You can't understand that that's the lineage of the argument? So somebody's not allowed to argue against nuclear power plants? They don't have a right to do that? They're out of bounds? They're illogical if they do? Because they think the cost isn't worth the perhaps non-existent benefit?
Being guilty of assuming is evident in the protests that we bring forth. But this is...
And that we bring forth, these protests that you bring forth. The only thing I think you're protesting is that somebody's not stroking your ego. That nowhere in my philosophy does it say that Hafladay is really cool and suave and he's got a real way with the ladies. Yeah, it doesn't say that anywhere in my philosophy. That's right. In my philosophy, you're pretty much a retarded asshole. And so I think that's about all you're doing is complaining that you're being identified for what you are, which is a retarded, sadistic asshole.
The problem with the style of video that you've never
bigoted asshole.
Really been able to conceptualize the actual argument that we are making. You're too busy.
So now we are making an argument. So where's the we argument? Where is your we argument? Where is your collective and your brilliant collective argument? The we argument. Where is it? Show it to me. Put it as an annotation on the screen. Our argument is that fancy pants are cool and are worth many children having cancer. Yes. For patent leather shoes, we should give many children cancer because they're just so cool.
Jumping down our throats, telling us how stupid we are for not accepting your worldview. That this is a...
Well, it's not the worldview that you don't accept. You don't accept the premises, asshole. Again, you're the one who argued prevention equals zero. That's your theory. Yes, it's a preposterously inane, idiotic, moronic theory. That's what I'm protesting. You don't concede to the most fundamental, most intrinsically unavoidable conclusions. You just can't avoid them. It smacks you right in the face. Having consciousness, I just can't see how you could possibly not be a grotesque hypocrite to deny that knowing what it is to be conscious, you can't recognize the value distinctions between feeling good and feeling bad. I don't believe you.
Game that this is inefficient. And I've already just detailed on how that all these metaphors are flawed when you can leap from...
He detailed something. Did he? He didn't detail anything. He didn't detail all metaphors are flawed. He didn't do any of this shit. That's a delusion of yours. You didn't do any of that. Okay? Yeah, you didn't save the train from falling into the cavern. You didn't fly to Krypton, and you didn't do any of that shit. It's all a fantasy of yours.
Reality to metaphor, but you can't then drag the metaphor back and claim it to be reality.
Drag the metaphor back and claim it to be a reality. Again, I'm not doing any of that. I'm saying the only way you can talk about things that are things, like the Olympic Games, is to talk about them as if they are what they are, which is games. So there's things that have to be talked about using metaphorical language, but it's not explicitly metaphorical, it's also explicit language. A game has a definition. So, yeah, there's nothing to say. The idea of the necessity of a rescue mission having something at the end that needs to be rescued is just a piece of logic.